That's another thing you keep saying. Aim low enough. Have a low enough bar. Why do you mean that?
Well, let's say you've got a kid and you want the kid to improve. You don't set them a bar that's so high that it's impossible for them to attain it. You take a look at the kid and you think, okay, this kid's got this range of skill. Here's a challenge we can throw at him or her that exceeds their current level of skill, but gives them a reasonable probability of success. And so, like I'm saying it tongue-in-cheek to some degree, you know, it's like, but I'm doing it as an aid to humility. It's like, well, I don't know how to start improving my life. Someone might say that. And I would say, well, you're not aiming low enough. There's something you could do that you are regarding as trivial, that you could do, that you would do, that would result in an actual improvement. But it's not a big enough improvement for you, so you won't lower yourself enough to take the opportunity.
Incremental steps.
Yes.
So this is also what is achieved through exercise. It's one of the most important. Yeah.
Well, what do you do when you go and lift weights? Yeah. You don't go and, like if you haven't bench pressed before, you don't put 400 pounds on the damn bar and drop the bar through your skull. Right. You know, you think, look, when I started working out when I was a kid, I was weighed about 130 pounds and I was 6'1". I was a thin kid and I smoked a lot. I wasn't in good shape. I wasn't in good physical shape. And I went to the gym and it was bloody embarrassing, you know, and people would come over and help me with the goddamn weights. Here's how you're supposed to use this. You know, it was humiliating. And maybe I was pressing 65 pounds or something at that point, you know, but what am I going to do? I'm going to lift up 150 pounds and injure myself right off the bat? No, I had to go in there and strip down and put my skinny goddamn self in front of the mirror and think, son of a bitch, there's all these monsters in the gym who've been lifting weights for 10 years and I'm struggling to get 50 pounds off the bar. Tough luck for me. But I could lift 50 pounds. And it wasn't very long until I could lift 75. And, well, you know how it goes. And I never injured myself when I was weightlifting. And the reason for that was I never pushed myself past where I knew I could go. And I pushed myself a lot. You know, I gained 35 pounds of muscle in about 3 years in university. I kind of had to quit because I was eating so goddamn much I couldn't stand it. I was eating like 6 meals a day. It was just taking up too much time. But there's a humility in determining what it is that the wretched creature that you are can actually manage. Aim low. And I don't mean don't aim, and I don't mean don't aim up. But you have to accept the fact that you can set yourself a goal that you can attain, and there's not going to be much glory in it to begin with. Because if you're not in very good shape, the goal that you could attain tomorrow isn't very glorious. But it's a hell of a lot better than nothing, and it beats the hell out of bitterness, and it's way better than blaming someone else. It's way less dangerous. And you could do it. And what's cool about it, there's a statement in the New Testament. It's called the Matthew Principle, and economists use it to describe how the economy in the world works. To those who have everything, more will be given. From those who have nothing, everything will be taken. It's like what's very pessimistic in some sense, because it means that as you start to fail, you fail more and more rapidly. But it also means that as you start to succeed, you succeed more and more rapidly. And so you take an incremental step and, well, now you can lift 55 pounds instead of 52.5 pounds. You think, well, what the hell's that? It's like, it's one step on a very long journey. And so it starts to compound on you. So a small step today puts you in a position to take a slightly bigger step the next day. And then that puts you in a position to take a slightly bigger step the next day. And you do that for 2 or 3 years, man, you're starting to stride. You know, and I have so many people coming up to me now. This is one of the things that's so insanely fun about this tour, which is so positive. It brings me to tears regularly. It's mind-boggling. Because people come up to me, and this is happening wherever I go now, and they say, they're very polite when they come and talk to me. You know, and they're always apologetic for interrupting. And so it's never narcissistic and it's never annoying. I'm really happy to see people. And they come up to me and they say, well, I know you've heard this lots of times before, but I've really been putting my life together since I've been watching your lectures. And then they tell me a story about where they were in some dark place, too much alcohol, too much drugs, not getting along with their father, not getting along with their mother, not having a vision for their life, being nihilistic, playing too many video games, you know, like being suicidal, that happens a lot, having post-traumatic stress disorder, sometimes as a consequence of combat, whatever little slice of hell they were occupying. They say, look, I've been listening to your lectures and I've been developing a vision for my life and I've been trying to take responsibility and I've been trying to tell the truth and things are way better. And so that's absolutely perfect. It's the right way forward as far as I'm concerned. And those are people who, they took stock of themselves. They said, I'm in a dark place and I'm a dark person. And here's some things that this dark person in this dark place could do. Little things that they could actually do. I'll clean up my damn room. I'll make my bed. I've had, I don't know how many people have come and told me. It's so strange. They said, well, I started making my bed and that made all the difference. It's like, well, yeah, you decided to aim up, man. And the first concrete instantiation of that was that you made your bed. And you think, well, that's nothing heroic. It's like, no, but aiming up is heroic. That's something. And then lowering yourself to the point where you're not above the mess in your room. You know, you're not superordinate to that. You lower yourself so that you straighten up. You're grateful for what you have right in front of you, and you take care of it and you put it in order. It's like all of a sudden things start to get better. And it's so wonderful to be doing this tour because I see that's what this tour has been about for me. It's not political. I never talk to people after the talks, for example. I talk to about 150 people a night. We never talk about anything political. It's always this. I wasn't doing very well. I'm putting my life together. I'm getting along better with my father. I'm getting along better with my wife. I'm getting along better with my kids. I've got some meaning in my life. Thanks a lot. It's way better. It's like, yes, that's the right thing.
It's very beneficial for people, and they need to hear that. And there's something that comes along with that that's critical. And what that is an honest assessment of yourself. And honesty, that type of honesty with yourself, it's very difficult for some people, and they don't have the tools for it, and they haven't been explained how to do this.
Or why you should.
Or why you should. Yeah, one of the things that happens when you go through school, you're told what to do. You're never told how to think. You're
also told that you're okay the way you are. That's self-esteem, man.
Yeah.
You're okay the way you are. It's like, no, you're not. And this is another thing that...
Well, you are and you're not.
Right.
You're okay as a human. Look, if you want to be a black belt in jiu-jitsu and you just started your first class, you're okay as you are. You're a human. But in the goal, you're not okay. In the greater goal,
that's right.
The incremental improvement is important. You have to honestly assess your position and move forward.
Yeah, well, that's it. You're a position and a trajectory.
Yes.
Right. And when you say to someone, you're okay because of your position, that's not good enough, because you have to say, well, wait a second, you need a trajectory. And maybe you're okay if you're okay in your position and your trajectory. But, you know, the self-esteem movements and all of that will accept yourself the way you are. It's like, no, because you need a trajectory. And one of the things that I think, one of the reasons that audiences are responding to what I've been saying in my lectures and what I've been writing about is that I don't tell people that they're okay the way they are. No, I say, no, you could be way more than you are. And they're relieved about that, you see, because if you're in a dark and terrible place, and someone says you're okay the way you are, then you don't know what to do about that. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm having a terrible time, and I'm hopeless. You're okay the way you are. Well, then what? That's it? That's where I am? And what do you want to tell a young person? You're 17. You're okay the way you are. It's like, no, you're not. You got 60 years to be better, and you could be way better. You could be incomparably better across multiple dimensions. And in pursuing that better, that's where you'll find the meaning in your life. And that will give you the antidote to the suffering.
The way I always describe it to people is there are disciplines that you can pursue, and those disciplines are a vehicle for developing your human potential. And if you get better at these things, you can get better at anything. And if you figure out what it takes to become better at whatever sport it is or whatever art it is or whatever you're pursuing, the same principles you can apply to the way you treat people, you can apply to the way you educate yourself, you can apply to the way you keep your body in shape. All those things are connected.
That's why you have to impose order. People have asked me in my book why I wrote it as an antidote to chaos, you know, because, well, there isn't anything technically wrong with chaos. Chaos is a place of great potential. Well, the question is, what's the proper balance between chaos and order? Chaos, potential, and order. Well, the answer is, look, when you're a kid, you're all potential. It's chaotic potential. It can manifest itself in any number of ways. And maybe you don't want to give that up. So you're like Peter Pan. You want to be a kid forever because you don't want to give up the potential. And you look out in the world and all you see are Captain Hooks, you know, who've lost a hand, who are chased by death because that's the clock in the crocodile. It's already got a taste of him. He's terrified by death and he's a tyrant. Well, I don't want to grow up to be that. So I won't be disciplined at all. Well, that's no good, because the way the potential transforms itself into actuality is through discipline. And so then you, as you said, this is the trick though. You have to pick a path of discipline. What path of discipline you have to pick is a different issue. So there could be a rule. The rule might not be follow this rule. The rule might be you have to follow some rules. So it's a meta rule. And the meta rule is you have to discipline yourself. And the issue is, well, how? That's not really the relevant question. You can pick a disciplinary path. That's why I often tell my clients, especially young people, they say, well, I don't know what to do. It's like, that's okay. Nobody does. Go do something. Do the best thing that you can think of. Put the best plan you have into practice. It's not going to be perfect, and it will change along the way. But it will change partly because you become disciplined pursuing the path. And as you become disciplined, you become wiser. And as you become wiser, you become able to formulate better and better plans. So you can start vaguely and confused and develop a plan that's not so great, and you start to implement it, and then you accrue incremental wisdom as you implement your flawed plan, and that enables you to fix the plan. And so that's part of that process of incremental self-improvement as well.
One of the more difficult aspects of that is personal honesty, like being honest with yourself. Being honest with yourself about what you're doing, self-assessment. It's very difficult for people. They're never taught it. It's not something that's encouraged.
No, and it's dismal. I mean, imagine you only have $100,000 to go buy a house. And so you go look at this house, and it's like, Jesus, this house, man, it's like it needs a lot of work. It's like, well, that's all you've got. Well, are you going to pretend that the house is okay the way it is? Or are you going to look for where it's rotten and where the plumbing doesn't work and where the stove doesn't work? You have to go and look and see where everything needs to be fixed. And that is harsh, man. And then in order to do that properly, someone has to have taught you, look, you aren't your problems. Well, you are. You're most fundamentally that which, if it confronts its problems, can solve them. And that's the hero myth in a nutshell, by the way. The hero is the person who confronts horrible, chaotic potential and tames it and makes something of it, right? That's the fundamental human story. But the problem is that you have to face what you don't want to face in order to fix it.
Yeah.
And so you look at all the things about yourself that need to be burned off, that need to be dispensed with. And that, man, especially at the beginning, especially if you're screwed up, that may be like 95% of you just has to go up in flames. And it's painful. Even some of that stuff that you have to burn off doesn't want to die. And it'll scream in agony while you're burning it off. It's not pleasant. But if you know that you're the thing that can transcend your problems, most fundamentally, if you know you're the thing that, if it faces the problems, can transcend them, then you have the faith that would enable you to take stock of who you are.
And you have to do that in small steps because most people don't have experience in transcending their problems. So they really don't know what it even feels like. It seems like an alien concept. It seems like something other people can do. But if you do it incrementally, you can show yourself that you can do it. I mean, it's one of the reasons why they have belt systems in martial arts. You start off slow. Oh, my God, I got a stripe on my white belt. Oh, my God, I'm a blue belt. You feel improvement. Yeah. And for some people, it's the first real improvement.
Yeah, but it's just try. I mean, I challenge you. Try it for a week and see where you're at the end of the week.
It's better than alternative, right? It's better than thinking that everything in the universe is conspiring to fuck you up and make life miserable. Because, I mean, to a large degree is... You know, I'm a big believer in being real, but at the same time, there is an element to how you choose to perceive things that will affect how you relate to them and how things around you happen. Now, of course, you know, like I think that one of the things that sometimes piss me off is when people skip a step. So there's something horrible happen, and it's always like, but you need to look how this is for the best, and it's kind of like, shut up, something horrible just happened, you know, this is not for the best, this sucks, right? But to me, it's like, here is the problem. You either have the people who become complete deniers of the unpleasant sides of reality, and they only want to, because it's like, otherwise it ruins their happy fantasy, and otherwise I'm going to have to deal with the fact that there are harsh things in life. Or you find the people who get stuck there and dwell there forever about how life is rough and terrible and hard and this and that. And it's like, to me, it's like, let's be real. When bad shit happens, and this bad shit, and there's no spinning it in a cool way, it still is bad shit, let's acknowledge it and then figure out how we move on from here. You know, it's like, let's acknowledge, okay, this is shit. Having said that, continuing to say that this is shit is not going to help us very much, right? So how about we figure out, regardless of whether it's fair or not, none of that shit matters. These are the cards that have been handed to you. We can agree that you probably didn't get the best cards, but who cares? These are the cards that are in your hand. How are you going to play them? Because that's really the only thing that counts.
Yeah.
Is at this point, are you going to take those cards, good or bad as they may be? How can you play them in the best possible way?
Yeah, I like that. Who's the Greek god that stole fire? What's his name?
Mr. Prometheus, I believe is the name we're looking for.
Yeah, Prometheus. And he got in big trouble. What do they do? They
chain him to a rock, and every day an eagle arrives to eat his liver. Yeah. And then during the night his liver grow again. Yeah. And the next day the eagle come back and eat his liver again.
Yeah. And he but isn't the idea that through the whole thing he laughs at the gods? Like Prometheus isn't. Maybe this is just like some existentialist take on it.
I like that, but yeah, I haven't heard it.
The idea is that Prometheus is like, even in the midst of this,
yeah,
Prometheus is like, yeah,
can find a way.
Still got the fire. Still gave the fire to people, motherfuckers. And I don't have to be freaked out by this never-ending torture by your dumbass eagle eating my fucking liver. P.S. I've gotten used to it. P.S. I think it's funny. P.S. I'm friends with the eagle. P.S. I'm glad he's eating my liver because he's hungry. He's awesome. I've named him William. His name's William. I look forward to him flying down. And so then suddenly you realize, like, this is the power of being a human.
Right.
Is that if we take, like, so if we're to look at, like, what you're talking about, like, no doubt there are, every day, horrible, inconceivably horrible fucking things happen. And, yeah. But, you know, if we mythologize it and use Prometheus as an example, you can, in the midst of this horrible thing, still find a place of equanimity, peace, tranquility, and power. And this is to be a warrior. And you can find that place in it where even in the midst of this, you're still smiling at the world. This is the human power. This is the human potential. And this is like, if we do that, you know, what is it people say? Speak truth to power. Speak truth to power. Do that. But do it with a smile.
Yeah, that's important, because otherwise you're spending your life thinking that until the day when utopia materializes, you have to grind your teeth and fight on, and it's going to be rough. And it's like, well, you're going to wait a long time, because that may or may not happen anytime soon. But having fun while you're fighting the good fight, that's where it's like one of my favorite sentences of all times is my sex-loving Zen monk from the 1400, E.Q. Sojun, who said, "Throw me into hell and I'll find a way to enjoy it."
Yeah.
And I love that, right? Because it's not denying hell is hell. It's like, it sucks. It is what it is, right? I'll find a way to enjoy it. It's like, regardless of what the objective reality out there is, I'm going to figure out a way to make it better than if I just go in thinking, oh, look how objectively it's terrible. There is such thing as objectivity. There's also the way in which you relate to it, and that's a choice. That's not just, it's not dictated by the facts. The facts limit what you can and cannot do. Some people are going to have an easier or harder time, but your choice is a key one.
That's right.